This skeleton documents for the first time how infants looked over 3 million years ago. And second, she tells us that she walked upright, but had some adaptation for tree climbing. And more interesting, however, is the brain in this child was still growing. At age
At the start of the dinosaur era, the continents are clustered together into a single landmass we call Pangaea. But now, they start to break apart. Africa separates from South America. The vast Atlantic Ocean opens up, creating what will become one of the defining barriers of human history, the gulf between the old and new worlds. The undisputed stars of the dinosaur era are animals like Triceratops and T-Rex. But there are some important creatures scurrying around their feet.
If we were to trace our lineage back far enough, we would come to really small shrew-like mammals surrounded by these titans of reptile life.
"65 million years ago, a 6-mile-wide object, likely an asteroid, slams into the Earth. A dust cloud blocks out the sun. Temperatures plummet. Every creature on land weighing over 50 pounds goes extinct. The reign of the dinosaurs is over.
The greatest gift that the dinosaurs ever gave us was dying. When they went extinct, it gave the mammals time to rise.
It doesn't take long after the disappearance of the dinosaurs for the first true primates to appear. Like their later versions, including us, these mammals have evolved forward-facing eyes, allowing for accurate depth perception and flexible hands with 5 digits.
They have 5 fingers, just like us, which means we can grasp things. If you think about other animals that don't have digits organized the way ours are, their ability to hold things, to manipulate objects, is much more limited.
50 million years ago, our primate ancestors are evolving on a planet that is warming. It's so hot, there are jungles at the poles. As the continents drift, the Americas and Africa have almost fully taken shape. But in northern Africa, modern-day Egypt is submerged beneath an ancient sea. On the floor of that sea live small-shelled creatures called nummulites. Their shells, made of calcium and carbon, pile up on the sea bottom over millions of years, where they form into limestone. Limestone that will be used to build the Great Pyramids. If you look closely at the pyramids today, you can still see evidence that these 4,000-year-old monuments are, in fact, made of 50-million-year-old seashells. By 10 million years ago, Earth is morphing into a world most of us would recognize. The Colorado River is carving out the Grand Canyon. Mountain ranges like the Himalayas have arisen. They're so tall, they disrupt weather patterns, setting the stage for a colder planet. The Isthmus of Panama emerges to connect North and South America, cleaving the connection between the Atlantic and the Pacific, disrupting ocean currents and tipping the world even more towards an ice age. With the planet getting colder, our primate ancestors hang on in the tropics. But a new creature is coming in that threatens to destroy them. 7 million years ago, our primate ancestors lived safely in the trees. But their neighborhood is about to be invaded. This newcomer will have as profound an effect on human history as any other living thing on Earth. It seems almost impossible to believe, but one of the most important things that will lead to the emergence of us is the emergence of grass.
The grasslands appear almost simultaneously around the world. We get the African savannas. We get the Eurasian steppelands. We get the North American prairies. We get the great grasslands of Argentina, appearing simultaneously around the world.
In eastern Africa, grasslands invade the traditional woodland habitat of our ape ancestors. With fewer trees and greater gaps between them, our ancestors have to adapt.
Apes notice that there's more and more apes in the same tree and less food, increasing incentives for apes to go from one patch of food to a different one separated by grasslands. Now, one way to do it is to run like hell. The other way to do it is to extend one's food sources into the grasslands and seek out the foods that are available there.
And so, some apes make the move down into this stark new habitat. It's a landscape better suited to primates that can walk on 2 legs, keeping their heads up above the tall grasses to watch for predators. Standing on 2 feet is a revolutionary advance because it frees up our hands. Hands we will need to shape human history. 2.6 million years ago, early proto-humans, or hominids, walk an Earth whose rocks are loaded with the element silicon. Created in the cores of stars billions of years before, silicon is the second most abundant element in Earth's crust. One of its chemical quirks is the ability to bond with oxygen to form crystals that combine into solid rocks. Rocks that can be chipped and shaped without shattering.
Hominids started doing this 2.6 million years ago, breaking cryptocrystalline silicates to make sharp edges, and people use them for millions, literally 2.6 million years.
Simply having a modified stone with a sharp edge on it, now suddenly you have a hammer. You have a crude cutting edge. A simple modified stone means a human can suddenly do 1,000 more things than we could do previously. That little extra bit of technology enabled our ancestors to persist and eventually turn into us.
Silicon launches the first technological revolution, the Stone Age. Millions of years after it powers our first handheld devices, another chemical quirk of silicon will make it the height of technology once again. The next leap towards becoming truly human relies on a little-known secret of our home planet. In the known universe, it turns out Earth may have a rare and special power.
Of all the planets and moons in the solar system, we think that Earth is unique in the ability to sustain fire.
Other planets and moons have lightning and lava. But only on Earth do we have the two critical things we need for fire to burn. A vast fuel supply in the form of plants and trees, and an atmosphere full of oxygen to fan the flames.
If fire wasn't a possibility, you'd have nothing like us running around. Homo sapiens, they made a world with fire.
Our ancestors have fire firmly under control by 800,000 years ago. It's a skill that connects us back to the very beginning. Remember that all energy was created in the Big Bang, and all life is in a competition for our share of this energy. Using fire to cook is like having an external stomach to break down foods, releasing more calories, giving us more energy, which in turn allows us to support bigger brains. Fire is also the ultimate gateway technology. We will soon use it to turn clay into pottery, metal into weapons, water into steam power.
If you don't have fire, you can't have the internal combustion engine. No fire, no metal. No fire, no rubber. It's a technology that opens a world of possibilities for creatures that know how to use it.
200,000 years ago, the modern human has fully taken shape. The larynx, or voice box, which is high up in the throat in our ancestors, descends. More complex sounds are now possible. We begin to speak. For the first time, information can be shared between individuals and across generations.
على مر التاريخ كانت سماء الليل قبلة أنظار الإنسان وتفكيره، عل في مشاهدتها ما يساعده على فهم ألغاز الكون. ما مصدر المادة الموجودة في الكون؟ كيف تكونت النجوم؟ ومتى؟ وكيف بدأت الحياة؟ ما زلنا نفتقر إلى إجابات دقيقة حول هذه التساؤلات، ولكن وبفضل سرعة تطور العلوم والتكنولوجيا تزداد الأدلة التي تدعم نظرية تفسر كيفية تطور الكون، وهي نظرية باتت تعرف باسم نظرية الانفجار العظيم. وتفيد هذه النظرية بوجود جسيم صغير جداً متناهي الصغر وكثيف وحار إلى أقصى حد، ما يلغي تأثير قوانين الفيزياء عليه بشكل كامل. وفجأة تمدد هذا الجسيم بسرعة تتخطى سرعة الضوء، وأطلق كميات هائلة من الطاقة، وولد المكان والزمان والمادة نتيجة هذا الحدث. وقد أطلق هذه النظرية في عام 1927 جورج لماتر، وهو كاهن وعالم فلك وبروفيسور بلجيكي. واستند لماتر في أفكاره إلى نظرية أينشتاين حول النسبية العامة، وإلى مشاهدة فلكية أجريت قبل سنوات تبين من خلالها أن المسافة بين المجرات التي يمكن مشاهدتها في ازدياد مستمر، ما يعني أن الكون يتمدد في الجهات كافة. ولنفترض أننا عكسنا هذا التمدد بهدف البحث في تاريخ الكون. سيستمر الكون في التقلص حتى يختفي في نقطة في الزمكان منذ 13 مليار و730 مليون سنة، تاريخ ولادة الكون. وبحسب هذه النظرية، عند تلك النقطة كانت قوى الكون الأربع المعروفة: الجاذبية، الكهرومغناطيسية، والقوة النووية القوية، والقوة النووية الضعيفة، مجموعة في قوة عظمى واحدة. ومع تمدد الكون وانخفاض الضغط، انفصلت الجاذبية أولاً، وتبعتها القوى الثلاث الأخرى. وكانت كميات الحرارة والطاقة التي أطلقت كبيرة جداً، بحيث طبقت نظرية أينشتاين، فتحولت الطاقة إلى مادة مضروبة بمربع سرعة الضوء. وبعد مضي 380 ألف سنة على الانفجار العظيم، كانت الحرارة قد انخفضت لدرجة تسمح بتكون الذرات بشكل طبيعي، وقد أدى ذلك إلى إطلاق كميات هائلة من الضوء والموجات الكهرومغناطيسية الأخرى على امتداد الكون. في عام 2001 أطلقت الإدارة الوطنية الأمريكية للملاحة الفضائية والفضاء ناسا مسباراً استطاع رصد ترسبات هذا الانفجار الكهرومغناطيسي على شكل إشعاع موجات صغرية ضعيفة ومنتظمة يمكن مشاهدته في الجهات كافة، ما يدعم نظرية الانفجار العظيم. وهذه نظرية مشوقة تسطع في سماء نجوم العلوم.
This is our infant universe. Everything that will ever exist, everything that will ever happen, all begins here, within this tiny bundle of energy, smaller than an atom. And right now, history as we know it is about to mysteriously begin. For reasons we may never know, our universe suddenly erupts.
In a millionth of 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 a second, it went from a size smaller than an atom to bigger than a galaxy. Whoosh!
You are about to witness the birth of your original ancestors, the first atoms. This is hydrogen. The universe will use it to make everything in the world around us.
Hydrogen is like a baseball team. You say, what player do I want to start my team with? Well, if I want to start a universe, I want to start it with hydrogen. Because from that, with a lot of heat and a lot of pressure, you can build more kinds of atoms.
The first atoms blast through the early universe. And luckily for us, they don't spread out evenly. Because in those tiny pockets with more atoms, gravity, the great sculptor of the early universe, begins to work its magic. The first galaxies are beginning to form, revealing a timeless secret of the universe. $300 million years after the Big Bang, inside of forming galaxies, gravity continues to squeeze together clouds of gas and dust. causing pressure and heat to violently rise. When the temperature reaches 18 million degrees Fahrenheit, hydrogen atoms slam together, creating a new element, helium, and radiating bursts of energy. The first stars are born.
Suddenly, there were these new beacons of light, shining forth, pouring energy into the universe. Let there be light.
The journey has just begun. Before there can be life, the universe has to build us a suitable home. To get enough of the right material in the right place, all at once, takes a very long time. Over the next 8 billion years, more than half of history as we know it, the element factories continue their work. Stars explode and are reborn. Each generation with more heavy elements than the last. Until 4.6 billion years ago. Finally, there are enough materials gathered for the next step on the path to us. A new star is born. This is our sun. It's so massive that it's gathered up 99.9% of the gas and dust in the solar system. But there's still just enough left behind for gravity to build some other things. Like planets. The third one out from this star will be our home. By the time Earth emerges, just over 4.5 billion years ago, 2/3 of the history of the universe has already passed. The first sunrises sweep across a foreboding alien planet. A world spinning so rapidly that a day lasts only 6 hours.
When you go back to the early Earth, right after the planet formed, you really have to think of the Earth as another planet. The sun would have looked out over a hellacious scene of just molten lava. In places, you would see rafts of black volcanic rock.
Within the liquefied rock, the elements are all in a jumble. Something has to bring order out of this chaos. And once again, that something is gravity. Lighter material drifts toward the surface and forms a solid crust, while heavier material sinks toward the center, forming a molten iron-nickel core. This churning liquid metal creates a magnetic field that reaches out into space. Like a force field, it will protect our future home from the sun's deadly charged particles. Soon, this magnetic field will allow for life to grow, and later, guide the explorers who will connect two halves of the world. But for all this to unfold, the Earth will need a critical partner. Four and a half billion years ago, an object the size of Mars smashes into the planet at 25,000 miles per hour. Earth swallows up much of the impactor. But a spray of molten debris is whipped off into space. Within as little as a year, gravity gathers this debris into a secondary sphere in orbit around the Earth, where it has been ever since.
The formation of the moon was an incredibly important event in Earth's history.
And in fact, its creation over 4 billion years ago is really important to the Earth's climate today.
The moon keeps Earth steady. Its gravitational pull prevents the planet from wobbling, saving us from wild climate swings. And the collision that formed the moon leaves Earth tilted on its axis, giving the planet a key ingredient to life: seasons.
Having seasons is very, very important for the evolution of life on the Earth. And having some stability in the tilt of those axes, that's very, very important also for maintaining life on the Earth.
The moon's gravity also begins to slow Earth's rotation, which will eventually lengthen our days from 6 hours to 24.